Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and today we're going to be talking about the Harmony Trailblazer in Honkai Star Rail, but don't worry, no story spoilers at all. That's a promise to you. I'll keep this story spoiler free for any of you who don't want to be spoiled on the story. Except the only thing I want to say is, how do you get this character? Some people might be searching and asking is, of course, you get Harmony Trailblazer by playing the main story. Regardless of where you are in the storyline, I won't tell you exactly where, but it's basically towards the end of the entire 3 patches of story content that we have so far. So if any of you who are wondering. But now let's talk real quick about what makes this character so good, in case any of you who want to play this character, or thinking of building this character, or perhaps are just forced to play this character for some reason or the other. First of all, I think the major thing that is really good about this character is the super break damage. This wall of text in the ultimate ability here, focus on the super break damage. This is what is actually a very interesting playstyle, and let me elaborate. Currently in the game, if you were to look at the entire roster, once you break enemy weaknesses with any character in the game, other than Harmony Trailblazer, there's not much benefit for attacking the monster in terms of like the break kind of things, or utilizing any toughness breaking multipliers and whatnot. But this super break effect is super interesting because it converts toughness reduction of attacks into this thing called a super break damage when enemies are weakness broken. This gives you even more value to weakness break enemies rather than just unga bunga, and regardless whether the enemy is resistant or not, you don't really care because it's just break effect, right? Nothing too much about that. This actually is shifting the direction of the game into something that cares more about enemies being weakness broken, in fact, which I think is a pretty interesting thing. So I think this is quite interesting. Other than that, of course, this character in the game is the best break effect buffer. She or he has at level 9, 28%, level 10, 30% break effect buffing to the entire team. You combine that with the Watchmaker set, you get another 30%, so that's a 60% buff when you use the ultimate ability for Trailblazer here. Very, very massive. If any character in future that's released that has break effect requirements, especially maybe sometime in the near future, this is going to be very, very strong. Probably one best in slot buffers as well. On top of that, you also have Eidolons 4, which gives an additional break effect to your team that scales off the Trailblazer's break effect. Notice here that Eidolons 4 doesn't have a cap, so theoretically speaking, we want to go for as high break effect as we can on Trailblazer to pass it on to the rest of the team, especially if your teammates have high thresholds of break effect. Perhaps you're running a double Runmei team, you're running a character that has a specific break effect threshold in future, regardless of what it may be. So that kind of triggers down to our stat focus that we are going on. But before that, let's look at the other stuff, and I will just briefly mention the overall kit. Basic attack, nothing special. Talent gives you a lot of energy refund. This is the thing that actually changes the character's build compared to a character like Runmei. If you notice, Trailblazer here has 140 burst cost, which is very, very similar to a character like Runmei who's at 130, but Runmei is notorious for having high stat requirements. Trailblazer, on the other hand, because of the talent ability of getting back about approximately 9 energy when enemy's weakness broken, you actually do see quite a lot of refund for this 140, and I don't feel myself having too much trouble getting this up, even without going for energy restoration build, especially if I'm fighting like multiple enemies too. Most bosses will have like minion summons and stuff like that, so it's quite easy to get that energy back up. Other than that, for skill, it's a good amount of damage, gets some form of skill point refund, some toughness reduction ability, damage increase, which fits nicely into the super break damage that you see here. Super break damage, the ultimate ability, other than of course casting the ult and increasing your entire team's break effect. Notice it scales off with the Trailblazer's turn, lasts for 3 turns, so the ideal rotation is a 3-turn rotation for Trailblazer, so you can get maximum uptime on this super break effect thingy. When there are less targets, super break damage is increased. When there are more targets, super break damage effect is not buffed as much. So that is the only key thing with this dance with the one. Then let's talk about the next things, which will probably be how do you get more of these Eidolons? Some of you might be wondering. So E1, probably the one that most of us will have if we haven't grinded anything in the game so far to the max and like min-maxing everything. This is gotten after you finish the main storyline for Panacony. It will take you a couple of hours, at least in 2.2 right now. It took me roughly around 5 to 6 hours to finish everything, which is a very good amount of healthy content. I didn't like speedrun anything, I just took my time, enjoyed it while it lasts. The next 4 are actually found from KopiC statue. So as of version 2.2, I only found all the way up to E5. Perhaps E6 will come next time when they have a new Trailblaze mission thereafter, so we might get the next one. But for most of us, if you grind to like level, I think the first one is like level 40, so you can get like 2 here, and then the next one is like 45, and 50 has 2. So if you get your statue up to like 50, I think you will get the critical one, which is E4. This is probably the most important one out of all of them, because this will help you scale your teammates with break effect as well, if you're looking for any character in future that needs that break effect threshold, which I think you might, especially if you're pulling for a popular character that's coming out soon. Other than that, the E6 is not really like super critical, so E4 is really the important one. So that's how to get Eidolons for Harmony Trailblazer. Now let's talk about the fun one. What gear am I focusing on? So we kind of like mentioned it briefly already. First of all, what are the few things that are limiting us? One is of course break effect. We want to get as much break effect as we can on this character, and we want to pass that break effect over to other teammates. So this is the pieces I'm going. I'll be really honest, Panacony Land of Dreams not the ideal, but later I'll show you if you care about my build and whatnot. I have good stats on this one, so I'm using it as well. But first, let's go into the synthesis menu so that I can show you all the options in the game, and I'll elaborate on them. We want to have as high break effect as we can. The ideal choice is Watchmaker Dream Machinations, because one of the strengths of Trailblazer is to pass on that break effect to your teammates, and Watchmaker Master of Dream Machinations helps with the 16%, you get a bit of increase, so you pass 15% on this with E4 over to your teammates. Not only that, the 4-piece gives everyone break effect, so it fits in line with what Harmony Trailblazer is trying to do, to give everyone even more break effect. Alternatively, if you're really struggling to find a 4-piece Watchmaker of Dream Machinations, you can go with like a 2-piece with Thief of Shooting Meteor. But again, or you could even go with like a 4-piece Thief of Shooting Meteor, but I don't really think this additional energy is required because of the talent that Trailblazer has already. This is going to be a bit of an overkill, but if you're just trying to get the numbers for break effect, this could be one other way of doing it as well, because of the second line here for a 4-piece gives you another 16%. Other than that, if you have like enough break effect on your characters already, maybe you are using 5-star gear, you're having good stats. One other way you can think about is running Messenger traversing Hackerspace. Personally, I don't really like this too much because of a 3-turn rotation Harmony Trailblazer, which means that you will most of the time have this 4-piece inactive rather than active, and the speed is not super critical unless you're hitting certain thresholds for the 2-piece set bonus. So that is like some of the thoughts that I have for both of them. In my opinion, the other ways I think are much more niche and based on the comp that you're running. Of course, right now I don't think any of them will likely be superior to like just focusing specifically on break effect, because that's what this character brings to the table and what is unique about this character. For 2-piece, I think it's much easier to say. My ideal, in an ideal world, I want to go for Talia Kingdom of Banditry. This gives me 16% in the 2-piece, and if I hit a threshold of 145 speed or higher, I get an extra 20%, which is very massive. 36 break effect is very huge to help me hit the amount that I need so that I can pass it on to the rest of my characters to hit their thresholds as well. I think this is very good too. Another option that you have if you're running a lot of Harmony character, maybe you are playing a Doctor Ratio, you're playing Harmony Trailblazer in your team, so you want an imaginary kind of comp. That's when I see that Panacony Land of Dreams might add a little bit of value, since you get a 10% damage bonus to imaginary type characters. Some energy restoration rate, but to be honest, I don't think that an energy restoration rate is like super critical. So my preference, Talia number 1, Panacony Land of Dreams number 2, probably Broken Kill in number 3 because of the crit damage buffing that you give to the rest of your team. Otherwise, I don't really like the rest too much. Sprightly Von Wack is just a slightly weaker Panacony Land of Dreams because you don't get that same type buffing, and other than that, I don't really think there's like too many critical ones that I can think of in this section here, unless you're going for like a DPS Trailblazer for some reason. Then of course the crit ones like Sigonia, but then you are going to talk about a whole different Trailblazer, which is more like a DPS Trailblazer, which I don't think for the majority of smaller spenders who are planning to explore this character would likely want to focus on. I'll leave that. If you guys want me to do like a DPS Trailblazer, I probably can, but that's not mainly for the sake of this video, so I don't like lead people astray and build in less efficient, in a sense, cheaper ways to build Trailblazer to take it up to what the meta is trying to be. So main stats, a lot of talking so far, but main stats, what am I focusing on for the 2-piece since we are on that? Link Rope I think is the clearest out of all of them. Break Effect, energy restoration rate is only 19%, it's not too much, and if you break a lot of enemies, you will realize that Trailblazer gets the burst back very quickly. You have 3 turns to wait it out, a really long time, and you want the Trailblazer to use more skill anyway so that you can proc the effects. I think Break Effect is probably the best. I found a lot of value through Break Effect, but I can see a justification for energy restoration too. For this one, because why do I say that is because you can get Break Effect from substats, and if you have like a 20 liner, 25 liner Break Effect and an energy recharge main stat on this set, I think that it makes sense to go for energy main stat and find Break Effect in subs. But for most people who don't farm Break Effect, you can't find energy restorations in subs. But anyways, I'll just go for like a main stat Break Effect for simplicity's sake. For the what's this called again? The Planisphere again. This one I want to go for imaginary damage bonus. I think that is probably the best, so you can do a little bit more damage on your imaginary Trailblazer as well when you are using the skill and stuff like that, or your basic attacking and poking the enemies. Not too much difference. You could go for a HP defense or attack if you are worried of being one-shotted too squishy and stuff. Doesn't really change too much. Next up, we have the 4 pieces. I think boots, my opinion is to go for speed. So why do I say that is because you want to hit the threshold for Thalia Kingdom of Bantry, which is 145. With this speed boots, you actually get a lot of it already. With this, you kind of like get 25, so you're very, very close over there already. And you just need like a few subs. And even my character also like hit 150 and stuff like that quite easily as well. So I think speed is going to be good if you're trying to hit thresholds to fulfill your main stat relics, which is quite good. So I will go for that. Body, on the other hand, I think what is interesting probably... this one's a bit trickier. This is the one that I actually spent the most time deciding what I want to go for. I tried a few, but I think it all boils down to, are you planning to use your Trailblazer to contribute a bit more damage, or do you want your Trailblazer to survive? If you are looking for survivability, HP defense is very good. Then the remainder becomes attack or crit rate probably will be likely ideal choice. If you have no crit damage whatsoever, you have no crit rate because you are focusing on break, attack percentage is the best to go if you are not planning to crit at all. You just have like very low amounts of crit rate. But if you have good amounts of crit damage, maybe a lot of your gear rolled crit damage for some reason, you want to shift over the crit rate so you can maximize that crit damage stat that you have. And crit damage is probably the lowest priority because unless for some reason your gear are all godlike and you have a very good amount of attack crit rate already, then you want to slot in crit damage. Or you can just go for the one with the highest break effect for the meantime if you are not trying to min-max. But those are my thoughts in terms of the order of priority for the body. For head and hands, just go for anything with break effect. Speed, those two are probably things I'll focus on. Attack percentage is probably the third. And HP defense is not a bad stat too, if any of you are wondering. So that is the sets, and let me just share with you real quick for my sets and my struggles right now. I'm using 4-piece Watchmaker, we already talked about that. I'm using Imaginary here with 12% break effect, and my Link Rope here gives me that 9 speed with good amounts of break effect, some offensive stats here and there. That's why I can't find a better one right now for the Thalia, because I hardly found Thalia, but I will likely do that once I can. I'm running a speed boots with, unfortunately, this is a pretty massive amount of crit damage, like 30%. I rather this be like break effect, but it is what it is. I'll use that for now. Massive chunky 24 defense, crit rate 1 here. And my gloves, I'm just focusing on speed, some break effect that I have, some speed here, some break effect that I have, some attack percentage is also nice to have. And that is for my relics. Lightcones, on the other hand, let's go into the Lightcone screen and see all at once, so that it's going to be a lot easier for us to manage. I think personally, what is best would be to go for Memories of the Past if you are a small, can I say a small spender free to play? It's a 4-star Lightcone. I think with the break effect, 28% is not too bad. You give a bit more break effect to the character to hit certain thresholds. On top of that, when you attack, you also regenerate energy, which is very nice because 140 is quite a lot of energy. If you have this at Super Inquisition 5, you don't have Runmei, this is the best time to activate it. I think this is probably the most well-rounded for the Trailblazers kit. And it's a 4-star Lightcone, so it gives you a lot of stats. Mashing Cogs helps you solve a lot of your energy issues, but it makes you like rather squishy because it's only a 3-star HP stat. Doesn't give you too much damage on the other side, so it's just helping you keep up that uptime in your Fleet Triumph here, and that is basically it. Let's see what's meditation. No, this is not important. So other than that, let's talk about a few other Lightcones. Let's talk about the free one, the event Lightcone that has just recently been introduced. This is for tomorrow's journey. It's not very good for Trailblazer unless you're building for like somewhat of a DPS. I don't think it's like super fantastic. Probably meant for a character like Robin specifically. Not really fantastic. And let's take a look at some free ones, and we'll touch on like the free ones first, because that's probably the ones that people have access to. I think Dreamville Adventure is not too bad. When you use basic attack skill or ultimate, all allies will increase damage based on the last use ability. The Trailblazer cycles basically through all of them. So you can, if you can use and time it correctly, you can actually get quite a lot of the uptime of this 20% buffing your whole entire team, especially if you're a free-to-play player, you don't have much options. I think this is quite good as well. You just can't play on like full auto, and you want to like maximize it a bit more without the full auto ability. Other than that, let's see. We have Past and Future. This is also free if I'm not wrong. So this use skill, next ally, this is not too good for Trailblazer. Dance, of course, a very strong Lightcone as well. If you want to not only buff your entire team, push them forward, I think Dance is a very good choice for any team that wants to move faster. If you're running like slower comms, like maybe Clara or something, probably don't need as much. Planetary Rendezvous specific for imaginary team comms, because Trailblazer is an imaginary unit. And I won't talk about limited Lightcones, because I think if you have them, you probably don't care too much about them. For Carve the Moon, Weave the Clouds, this is nice to have as well. I do like this on the Harmony Trailblazer, but I think the break effect stats and the energy restoration is a lot better for planetary Memories of the Past if you have that. But the battle even isn't over. Bronze's Lightcone, the only 5-star I'll talk about, increases energy restoration rate by 10%. This is very good. Helps you hit the regen even faster to get it up in case you don't break enough of the enemies. Regenerates 1 skill point when you use ultimate. This is good. Once in a while you get some refund. And the last part is really just a little bit of bonus when you skill the next player attacking. Deals a bit more damage, which is just nice to have overall. But what matters is the massive HP stat, good amounts of attack, so you get more value out of the skill, the basic attack, survivability as well. So those are like my thoughts. So TLDR, priority probably like number 1 if you have it but the battle isn't over. Number 2, Memories of the Past, S5. Maybe I'll rank S5 Memory of the Past but the battle isn't over about the same, especially if you're going for future characters that need break effect as a threshold. I'll rank them about the same. If you have anything less than S5, probably the battle isn't over, it's going to be a lot better. And if you have this Memories of the Past only at S1, that's when I'll actually start considering like Mashing Cogs and the other options available to us, so you can get more value for your Trailblazer. And last but not least, of course, let's talk about team comms. Trailblazer team comms generally focuses on characters that want to break enemies or do a lot of weakness toughness breaking already on its own. So characters, for example, that hit enemies very quickly, like Xue Yi, which does good amounts of toughness breaking. You have Akirion, who hits all types of enemies and breaks all types of enemies faster. These two characters are pretty good. You have Runmei as well. Where is my Runmei? Now, I'm so glad with the new starting, you can like push all the characters out in front. Runmei is also pretty strong, pretty solid for these kind of comms. In future, other characters in the game that skills off with break effect that needs the massive stat that Harmony Trailblazer transfers over, very strong too. If you want to play, for example, Argenti in the Pure Fiction and you want to get more value out of him like breaking enemies, good amounts of transferability. Himiko is also really strong, a good character that does good amounts of break. Fire Physical generally does very good amounts of break damage, especially if you're building them for crit. You can get the break effect from Harmony Trailblazer, which is fantastic. So you're playing both into damage, break effect. Even Kafka, for example, if you're already building her for massive amounts of attack, you can get the break effect from other sources like Harmony Trailblazer, and your DOT team now also does a lot of break effect. So I think those are many angles to talk about team comps, but I'll leave that for a specific video where I want to talk about more options available for future team comps too, but there's just throwing some ideas around so that you guys get a holistic drift. And if you appreciate such content, do check out our other videos on the channel already. And thank you guys again so much for watching, and see you in the next video.